Hello.
Welcome
to our movement journal.
This is Movement Journal 2025,
Term
2.
Cracking off.
Let's go.
With Connor.
Oh yeah, Connor. I'll start.
Okay.
Because I absolutely love this term with Connor, mocap. I've played like a lot of video games my whole life growing up. And sometimes, and I've just been like, how do they make them? Like, how do they do it?
Yeah.
And then like, you see clips of Tom Hanks making, what's the Christmas film where he plays all the characters? The animated Christmas film.
Polar Express.
Polar Express. You see clips of Tom Hanks making Polar Express and Avatar and the guy who plays the Hulk. You know, how they do all that. Mark Ruffalo playing the Hulk and stuff like that in all these studios. And I never knew what it was. And then I figured when we got told last term, oh, you're starting your mocap term, I was like, what's that? But then when I figured it out, I was dead excited. And at times I was a bit like, this just feels ridiculous. Like because it seems like, because that constant movement, people kind of take the mick of it because they're like, like when you see video games and you see characters doing that and then people mimicking it in real life, but then when you actually think about why they do it, it makes a lot of sense. Because if your character was just stood stock still,
Where's the life?
Doesn't, yeah,
no breath,
there's no life to it. There's nothing in it. And speaking of breath and, you know, those kind of things, those more specific actor detailed work that we do a lot of the time, you know, thinking about breath and stuff like that, you know, you don't really think that kind of stuff will kind of come into it.
Yeah.
But it did play a big part. Like the first thing that Connor says when you started your assessment was find your breath.
Yeah. Or show the breath.
Yeah.
Even just with the shoulders. They want to see their life. From behind.
Some of them, I remember the first, you know, when we would get up in groups at a time and we all sat on the wall.
Yes, play the game.
Playing the game. It was me and you, wasn't it?
We did, yeah.
We were the very first ones who went
I
up.
was the cowboy. I was the pirate.
Yes, you were. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go first. And then Frankie got with him. That was fun. But then the one they did after that, you know, when you faced away from everyone.
Yeah, so you could see what you
Yeah.
did from behind.
Yeah, I remember someone doing it, and them really moving with the breath, and I was like, well, they just look a million times better than everyone else doing it, who's just stood still.
Yeah. For me, in Connor's lessons, mocap this term, I was a bit concerned because I've never grown up playing video games. I'm not familiar with the video games world, but it wasn't about knowing what to do, it was about learning. I mean, that's what this training's about. So I was open and receptive to each lesson, looking at what exactly we need to do in a lesson, focusing on what we're doing in the lesson to help me rather than thinking about the end goal. And it really made me enjoy this term more than I thought I would in terms of mocap. I think what I would take from his lessons is just let go, which is an overall thing for me. But letting go and believing that you are the character instantly connects you to your breath, connects you to your physicality, because you're aware that this is who I am at this given point in time. So you're not thinking about, you're not stuck in one spot because you believe that you are the character, so you live it and you breathe it. So that was fun to explore, especially during the assessment at the very end, having to live and breathe as the sheriff frog. It was just fun.
I think that's something that we found across all of movement this time. With, you know, Greek just going to that extreme and Tim just being an animal.
Exactly,
like,
letting go.
To let go is a good lesson, I think, that kind of carries across the whole.
Dive right in. Just commit fully.
Just commit, yeah.
Because not something I would have done in first year. I don't think.
You're never going to know what it feels like to be Greek 2,000 years ago. You're never going to know what it feels like to be a lion in animal studies. But if you commit with the breath and you know, if you think like that thing and you become that thing, then that's how it is, isn't it? And it's the same. I see where you're coming from. I mean, I like this term because of the fact is that a lot of it's outside in. We do a lot of work where we're like, here's a piece of text, let's create a character and how they move and how they think. But this, Connor's, which is a bit like audio, where it doesn't really focus on the image of you, but rather than the character, you can take that character and put it into your own body. Same with Tim's, you know, you're given something physical.
Given an arm and given a character.
Inspiration rather than text, which is almost less work mentally. So that gives you a chance just to let go, because they're so big. Like when we did that exercise where I was a pirate and you was a cowboy, you know, it's all about given circumstances. You know, the outside affecting us, and also the kind of symbolic natures of our archetypes of being pirates, of being cowboys, and
what other stereotypical things that, and because when you're thinking about with an audience with a video game or anything, an audience watching something that's motion capture, something stereotypical is kind of what, when you think of a pirate, when you think of these kind of characters, it's what you kind of go to.
First thing that you
and
go
then those circumstances that Connor was giving us showed us a million and one different ways to take it further and do it ourselves. Because personally, when I got up and did mine, cowboy, immediately the hands were on the guns and I was just swinging the hips and walking around, and it was obvious. Everyone knew what it was straight away. But then when the different influences that Connor was giving us started to come in, it completely changed, and I really like that.
Yeah, it gave it layers. Gave it a fleshed out character.
I think it does help if you have a slight knowledge of
video games.
Someone did an orc. Yeah. I had no idea what an orc was. No. And you know, if you haven't watched that kind of fantasy side of TV and film, you wouldn't know what an orc is or read the books.
Yeah.
And I think the person that got up and did that didn't know what an orc was. And you know.
But then that's like putting it in a box, isn't it? Well, this is an orc.
Yeah.
Everyone knows what an orc is, but then I guess where's the creativity in that?
Yeah. That's it. I think you have to start from the well, you can use that as a guide, starting from the stereotypical characteristics of a frog or a cowboy or whatever the character may be. But then, I was a frog. But then you build on from the stereotypes to create your own individual take on that character. Because then why am I hiring you and not somebody else? If it's just going to be what everyone has seen.
My mocap character had nothing obvious about it. I was Tunip.
Tunip.
What is a Tunip character?
Yeah.
Because the week after Connor gave us the images and we were we were in the room for the first time with the characters, he thought, Connor was like, it's a kind of like a good, fun-loving kind of character. And I'd come in with this evil, vicious, murdering root vegetable.
Lol.
He was like, I've never seen it done like that. Or like, I never would have thought that the Tunip would be evil. He looked so nice. I was like, I thought he looked horrible.
But with no direction, and you have free will, you can do whatever you like.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it really is a conversation, isn't it, with whoever you're working with? Because it's, they've got a computer, they've got to use all the editing skills to move. So they want you like the characters already, but you still got to bring something.
Oftentimes, we just get given, you get a character written, and that's the character that you play. And
yes.
Which when you do shows and things like that, or TV shows, like TV auditions, looking for 16 to 20-year-old male who can
it's very
play
by
this
the book.
very same character that we've written here, but this one, whatever you want it to be.
We've certainly got a vocabulary that I didn't have at the start of this term. Like I know a lot about games, and I know a fair bit about the technology they used to make them, and same with like CGI and stuff. But a lot of the vocabulary that Connie used this term was brand new to me, so I felt like I've learned a lot. If you was going to a room now for an audition or something like that, and someone used the same vocabulary that he has,
I would be shocked.
You'd be able to do the audition.
And this is the thing I keep saying, like, especially with the mocap training, I remember going home saying, like, when I applied for I had no idea that I would be doing anything like this. Maybe it was written down and I didn't read it, but it's not something that I ever expected to be doing.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that we were able to, because yes, we don't have the studio with the wraparound cameras and we're able to actually put it on a screen and see what happens and put all the dots on, but even just doing it simply, like how it would be done in an audition for that same kind of thing.
It's enough.
Yeah, it's definitely enough.
I also loved how we could take time when we had to turn directions. When he would say turn 180 to the left, 180
Pressure
to the right.
off.
Yeah, exactly. We didn't have pressure on us because I'm someone that, especially if I've been doing a lot in that week and I have to do something like that, my coordination is like, starts to spiral a bit.
We came right out of solo song assessment.
Exactly.
Straight into that assessment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Straight into that assessment. And being able to take my time with it and then get it right, rather than feeling the need to rush, is also something else that I've taken on board, because going into auditions or performing, the stage and the space is mine to claim. I'm not, even though there's a time on each scene, I'm not under duress, because I'm not going to die if I rush through the lines. It's not going to make the scene any better than it would worse. So being able to take time and ownership of the space is another thing that I took. And it made it easier and more fun to explore my character when
I think it
practicing.
made it easier to explore redirection as well.
Exactly,
Well,
yes.
Because, we were all given very kind of different redirections, and we all came in with, like, we knew what we were going to say, how we were going to do it, and then, I got up first to do this assessment thing, and then I wasn't expecting redirection, and then it kind of threw it at me, but because of the nature of the way it was done and how much, because that character was well and truly mine, and it was just mine, it was mine to do whatever I wanted with. When I was redirected, it was really, really, it came really easy to find something else to do.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't feel like, oh God, what am I going to do? It's like, find this in it, and I was like,
Because you had fun with it as well.
And you brought an offer already. If you had nothing, you went, right, well, I'll set the line, then you can't work with it, but having something given already.
Yeah.
Because you took ownership of the character, that's why.
One thing I didn't really know about characters, as much as I've looked into this term, is how much it is subconsciously shaped. And the PowerPoint they gave us, which was all about shapes, and I've been looking at game characters and film characters and been like, oh, they really do use these shapes often. And that's why I think I found it quite difficult with my character, because it was hazmat in a wasteland, and this grouping was kind of like evil looking, but he was strong in his legs. So that's why I made him a healer. But that's something I've never really thought about, and which I will take further as we go on to all the, as we move on to all the characters. Feste, what shape are these people?
Yeah, I mean, my character was very round physically, because he's a turnip. But then in his legs, he was kind of, there's really strong triangle shapes. So that kind of circle in the middle. But then I had also those really strong triangle shapes that were really set. And I was like, kind of showing that strength of the character as well. That's why I was like, oh, there's a side to him that is not, he's not just this easygoing, he has got that strength in him as well. So, looking at all the different characters that we work with now, something that you can kind of take out. Because I think with mocap, it can be very specific. Like, what we learn, that's mocap.
Yeah.
Whereas when we've, learned practitioners and stuff, you learn about things you can take into it. I didn't feel there was much that I could transition into other work.
Okay.
But the shapes.
Yeah, characterization.
Shapes, like actually finding the breath of a character, and breath, and just committing that 110% and just see what happens.
I think something to work on for me specifically is like stamina in positions, like being in weird positions for such a long time, and making sure that that's healthy. You know what I mean? Because he mentioned a few times that if you're in a position for so long, and then you can't do it the next day, you'll be cut from the job. You need to have that stamina and preparation to be able to hold certain positions. And I think transferable wise, I think it transfers most into audio and camera, because it's all the digital world, and we're going into a digital world. A lot of theatre's going digital now, so there's no, you know what I mean? I think them skills will transfer more now.
Standard, sorry.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to add, to be honest. I think going further on into my training, I could take fully throwing myself and committing myself in in the unknown is so important because I didn't know what to expect from mocap, but I just threw myself in it anyway because I was like, well, I have to do it. And the best way to get through something is to have fun with it. To have fun with it, let go. Exactly. So that was just another training ground of me letting go and having fun.
Definitely.
And characterization. Yeah. Just reminding me that characterization is important. And where else can I take my character? You know?
That's mocap done. Chris. Hello! Welcome back. Part 2. Oh, we should have done a thing where we like different positions. Anyway.
Animal studies.
Yeah.
Animal transformation.
Animal transformation.
Yes,
Very
not animal
specific.
studies. That's different.
Tim would have told me off for that.
Yeah, which,
You would have.
first point on that, animal transformation or animal studies, we weren't learning how to be an animal.
No.
We were learning, you know, for me, the otter, when Tim was like, you're going to be an otter, I was like, what? And I was in a very fortunate position where I have otters at work. So I would see them 2 times a week, every single week, whereas some people were only able to actually go and see their animals once or twice or 3 times.
Yeah.
Whereas I spent so much time just sitting there watching the otters do their thing. And it definitely made an impact. But on the point of transformation, not studies, it was then turning it into a character at the later end of the term, or seeing what that character was like, you know, when we were doing that 45-minute improv, walking around the room, and Tim was saying, you know, explore as a person that may still possess some of these qualities or be your animal, but there's something human about them now. And seeing that, and then I was like, this is a fully fledged character here.
Yeah.
That's getting up and walking around and doing things. This is a character based solely off of an otter. And I was like, wow.
Yeah, because he wanted us to avoid, like, the stereotypes of, like, oh, lions are brave.
Impersonation.
Yeah, he doesn't want, like, characteristics. He wanted us to be the things and have thoughts and feelings of our own and not judge them as what they are. And that is ultimately acting, isn't it? You know what I mean? That is the ultimate transformation into, and that's transferable through pretty much every skill set, I think.
Because like, how am I actually like supposed to? Because otters are tiny, or at least the ones I spent most of the 2 terms looking at, with these tiny little otters, and I was like, how on earth? Like, first instance, crawl on the ground, but then I was like, well, no, not really. That kind of shuts me off from everything if I'm crawling on the ground, because then I'm worrying about keeping myself up and crawling. So I stuck to 2 legs rather than really shrinking down onto 4. But I spent a lot of time on the ground, just I never moved in that kind of way. It didn't work for me.
I think this lesson really pushed the boundaries of like self-image. I think you know what I mean. You do. I think we did the weirdest stuff in these lessons.
Yeah.
Like, and to be surrounded by mirrors and windows, and as a group to actually like glaze over and see people as animals and yourself as an animal, and be put in place into this world and think and feel and give into the given circumstances of what Tim's giving us of, you know, the heat and the water and what we was looking for and family. You know, it's a lot to ask of someone, and I think we really did push ourselves this term on committing to the worlds, and that's what we need to do with the plays.
Yeah.
Commit to the world
Definitely.
plays.
So many times did I find myself thinking, like the second half of this term, where we were doing animal transformation in the MT corridor, during the middle of all the MTs been on their break, just sitting in the corridor, staring at us. And, you know, there were moments where I was like, oh, I don't want to do this right now because for fear of judgment. But then there were other times where I was like, you know what, I actually don't care. And didn't really worry about it. And again, it's another thing. If you asked me to do that in first year, would not have happened. Not me as a person would not have been able to do that. But being able to do it this year, that was another thing that I was like, do that now, take that off, completely remove that judgment from myself, not worry about what it might look like in the mirror or might look like, because it's not something that's supposed to be done like ballet. It's not supposed to look beautiful.
No.
Not at all. And I finally started to enjoy that, I think.
Yeah. I never had that thing of, oh, people are looking at me.
Oh, good for you, Thana!
But only because, maybe it's because we were all doing it anyway. So because we were all in the space doing that, I'm not alone. And the process was very gradual. We weren't thrown into the deep end, and Tim wasn't like, okay, get up into the space and be your animal. It was a gradual thing where we connected with the human side and then translated that to the animal side. And then we were told to zoom out and look at how the animal really links to your character that you're playing in, I don't know, Shakespeare or whatever you're playing. But for me, at first, I don't want to say I had little faith in it, but I was wondering how it's going to work. Then, being guided and aided into the process, I was like, I can see how this is so helpful as an actor, because there's so many things we can learn from animals that we can then use as actors. And not only that, being aware of your surroundings is so important as an actor, because we are playing human beings and we can't play things that we don't have an inkling of, or we don't know or see. So if we're living in this world and just thinking that, okay, it's humans and humans alone, there's only a limited toolbox that we can use as actors. But when we look at the things that we don't normally pay attention to, that can really advance your creative process as an actor. And I feel like that happened with the animal studies, not transformation, animal studies lessons that we did this term. Looking at things outside from us, the external, and using that and drawing that as inspiration for our characters. Being a stag was a bit challenging because I was trying to find things that were different to what I know, links to me, because I think a stag, the qualities are quite similar to me as a person. But I was trying to look at things that are different, or qualities that can be different from Tahani and who I am, to help me and advance my creative mindset. And I think I did.
Taking it away from being us and fully
Exactly. I didn't want it to be similar to me. I wanted to find something that was different, because a stag is not me. I'm a human being. A stag's an animal. So, yeah.
First moment that clicked for me in the animal transformation classes was actually last term. So, I don't know if I can talk about it, but I don't know what they say on the press release. But it was when Tim did that exercise in which he put those little numbers around the room, and half the class went out and he hit the numbers, and half the class watched, and then that half came in and they were hunting around the room. Or no, letters, not numbers, and then spell out an animal.
Yes.
Everyone was looking for the letters, and everyone was wandering around the room, and I would do it first. And then I sat down after I did it first. I couldn't find them all. I sat down after doing it first and watched people do it, and it was the pure animal instinct of that kind of scavenging behaviour, just not caring about anything, and just trying to find something that they felt they needed so desperately. I was like, oh.
As if it was a life or death situation.
That's a kind of animalistic instinct that Tim's talking about here with this, and I was like, so that when we went into working with the animals, our own individual animals, it was that instinct of, it's already there, it's just turning it into this animal here that we have now.
Yeah. Another thing that really clicked for me is when we had to explore sounds and smells. We were blindfolded and we had to walk around the corridors and pick up on what we could smell and hear without seeing anything with our sight, which links back to my previous point on what else can we pick up on as actors to help us if our sight was taken away from us, and the power of our senses as well. Like, the many things we absorb, but we don't even notice that we absorb. We just brush past it. I really liked that exercise. I think it was very helpful.
We can use them. That's the thing, isn't it? We you know, you can think about weight and speed, but then actually just smelling strawberries can change someone's whole. It's a direction. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's what it's about. It really is a stepping stone from, because we did with Harriet, didn't we? We changed into each other.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
And it was a similar process.
That was last time, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a similar process.
Who did we turn into?
Yeah, I turned it to you and you turned it to me. That's very
Oh
true.
my gosh, you guys keep on working together.
It's just,
A
it
vibe.
just felt like a similar process,
Yeah.
but with less information given to you. And you know, you're going to get less information when you just get a book, a play. So,
And
you know,
yeah, it was a lot harder to read an otter than it is to
big person. Yeah, definitely.
be Frankie.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of things that you don't have with an animal, primarily being speech as well.
The way our body is. We don't go, we don't, you know, move and navigate through this life on all fours.
We are animals. We have animal instincts that we push down every
Suppress.
day.
It's true.
And people, other characters don't. Some characters do not do what we do. We have to
Be able to
be able
step
to
into
step into that. And
Which is why the blindfolding
Yeah.
exercises was very, very important because it made you.
Big fan of the blindfold.
No, it was so good. No, seriously, I loved it. Did you guys not?
No, I did. Yeah.
I think it was really, really good because as humans, we're always on the go, 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 go. We don't take time to sit in what we can smell, what we can hear, which I think is a luxury animals have.
I mean, smells have such an impact on, like, just me. Like the other day, just smelled something, and instantly, I'm thinking of, you know, all these different memories, and like, I smelled something, and I was like, this smells like the airport in Mumbai, and I was like, this smells like being on holiday for the first time.
Yes.
And it was like,
This feels like the airport.
No, I can so relate.
Mumbai.
I can so relate. There's a specific
what I mean?
smell.
Do you know what I mean?
There's a specific. I last went to Ghana before I went in 2022. I last went to Ghana when I was 3, and there's a specific smell. I don't know why.
Just
Sometimes I
can't-
would smell it, and it would take me back to Ghana, and I only had been once before 2022, and yet that smell took me back to Ghana.
Just things
The
sometimes.
power of our senses is unmatched.
The specific smell of Doncaster is just.
Lol.
Doncaster quite much
yeah.
to
Yeah.
Mumbai and Ghana, but
I think this really developed the imagination more than anything.
Yes.
The muscle of the imagination.
Imagination.
I think I wish we'd got the passage slightly earlier because we only really got to do one animal over the.
I was
I
just
agree.
very lucky in the sense that
I'm glad you have a
at
few
the zoo.
parts.
Yeah. So it'd have been nice to see. I mean, this is something we can do on our own time, so it's not an issue. Develop a different animal just to get a sense of what would be different. You know, to two different animals to compare.
Yeah. I agree.
His warms are just great.
They are.
I will
Oh
take
my
his warm
gosh.
forever.
Take his warm up forward.
Yeah,
Don't
always.
ask. Don't ask.
Always. And what I liked about Tim's, it wasn't like, this is what I could see from the outside, this is what I could see. It was really a focus on how did that make you feel? How was that for you? Because it's really a personal journey.
Yeah, there's little sit downs at the end and just be like, so what?
Yeah.
There was no judgment or expectation, or you know, this week we're gonna find this, and this week you're gonna find that, and then because you know everyone was doing it at very different speeds, looking at very different things, and each week we were able to kind of focus on our own things, which is quite nice, you know, because sometimes I don't, in my character, want to focus on what Frankie wants to focus on in his camel.
Yeah.
You know, there were some weeks where I'd be like, right, this week I'm really going to think about this tale that I've got going on back here. How is that really going to have an impact on me? And then just being able to at the end be like, yeah, this is what I found. I really liked it. And then listen to other people's and being like, interesting. How does that relate to mine? Where can that go? I quite like that. And it wasn't like, so you failed or you passed.
It was a chilled but focused process,
Which again, if you don't commit to the class and commit to giving yourself over to it and exploring and finding out what happens, you're not going to get anywhere with it.
Exactly.
And,
It was really about finding your own process, wasn't it?
Yes.
100%.
Yeah.
There's something that I really liked with Tim, which is the whole of like seeing something in front of you and stepping into it, and
That was so real.
Yeah, because it's like putting on a mask or becoming something that really gets rid of anything of you and gets that to fill you up.
Yeah. It's almost
really
spiritual.
feeling it
Yeah,
kind
there's
of
something
just
holistic about it.
in every single little bit of your body. That was definitely interesting. But, I mean, okay, if your Olivia was an animal, what would she be?
Oh my gosh.
Because my Orsino is very ottery,
Yeah.
which I think
Works.
is quite interesting. I think the otter really works for Orsino.
Yeah.
There's kind of different levels, the vicious side, the very emotional, cuddly side, the, confused sides, hungry sides, I think it all works.
Do you know what's so funny? I feel like she could be different cats. Tiger, lion, and a cat's cat. I don't know if that makes
different
sense.
points.
Just at different points, but
Yeah.
she's definitely part of the cat family.
Feline.
She's a feline.
Yeah.
100%.
I think I'm a badger.
Okay.
Yeah.
And like a raccoon.
Like an English badger.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. No, yeah,
Like a
raccoon.
badger.
It's the way you sat there.
Not you, the character.
Eating your popcorn. Interesting.
Yeah, she'll be she's a feline. 100%.
Interesting.
She's sly, sneaky, but also she has a what's the word? Flirtatious side to her.
No
Flirty
spoilers.
side to her.
No spoilers.
And then she also has the powerful side to her that she shows and presents. That's the lioness energy. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that is animals. Hello! Welcome to Greek. We're up and moving for this one. Come on, let's go. Right, move this. Oh, let's put it on the bench. We're kind of just do the same thing for this one, just talking, but then if we want to kind of show things or share things, we can. Bosh. So Greek.
Yes.
How did it start for you?
I felt like the process, for me, worried me at the beginning because it is a slow burner. The way in is like go do your own research on these stories. That I love doing that. But then not having the text for so long, and then learning a language that also you don't know, and it's more about the words, and it did make me appreciate.
In all honesty, though, learning it without knowing what I was saying was so frustrating. I was like, you want me to give, like the thought of giving an emotion or an offer on these words without having any idea what I was saying. I was like especially at the start of the time, I was like, how is this possible? It's not possible. It doesn't work. It's going to be
Everyone has the same opinion, other than the language, like the actual syllables. You can have opinion on the syllables, but without the context, as a chorus, as a singular person in a chorus, it's hard to find your track in the actual story without that information.
However, though, with there being no understanding of the words, what we ended up with was well and truly our own.
Yes.
Because it's very often the case of you see different people doing the same text. Like when you go into an audition, and I've seen this model like 100 times, and more than
Inflection on the place.
yeah, everything's done exactly the same way, but with a text that you kind of have zero understanding of until it gets right. I mean, we never do have an understanding. But it was well and truly our ensembles, which I think the ensemble part, for me, was the biggest part of Greek. They say, "Can you really be an ensemble?" Before all this, I was like, "What?
What is that?
This is rubbish. I want to be an ensemble. This is rubbish." But doing it in Greek, that's an ensemble.
And we built the skills with Chris on what the Greek ensemble was going to be. Yeah. But then when we got into Harriet's lessons, which is obviously not a Greek class, that's when we really shot the group.
Yeah.
Because we really just went for it.
Yeah.
Every
That
time.
thing called, sorry, did I cut you off? The thing called breath. I think someone can do a PhD on breath and the power of breath. Because I feel like with what Frankie and Ollie have said, it goes back to breath. Being able to connect with our breath and putting the focus on other people as well, the people that were ensemble, their breath, caused us to be united and caused us to have, even if it wasn't the same feeling and interpretation of the text that we didn't know, we had the same feeling. So when, like, there were times when we would sing Posum, and we would all feel when we should, like, get heavier and more grounded and rooted and have the energy built up more. Exactly, exactly.
When to go as well. Yeah.
Exactly. All by breath, which is something that I really, really took from Greek as a whole. And breath is inspiration. Inspiration is what causes us to do things, which is what we need to do as actors to do. And also, it's the breathing ground's connectivity, which is something that I really took from Greek. Like, going back to actually connecting to the text or connecting to my emotions and myself as a person, or as the character, I really felt that. Like, the second run of our Greek performance, being Jason, I started to get emotional because I was really listening to what Medea was saying to us as Jason, to me as Jason, but then I was also thinking about the reality of what I've done. And the fact that my children are dead. I know this probably sounds a bit cheesy and everything, but I really was connected in the second time performing Greek. Like, I really was. I was really thinking, hey, because it's so relatable to every single era of time. That's one thing I really like about Greek. It's only relevant to the time back then. It's relevant now, relevant in the future. You know, families betraying one another, a man cheating on a woman wanting revenge. I mean, it looks back to the saying, hell hath no fury like a woman's scorn. And Medea showed that. Okay. And like, so being able to connect to the human raw emotions of humanity really stood out to me for Greek. It's something that you said, and even Demetrius, but I really experienced that and felt that, especially in the second run, and that's something I really want to take. I know that I'm not always going to connect fully to every performance I do, because that's just the reality, but I want to be able to say at the end of my career, at least 90% of the work that I've done, I was connected, at least.
I think another way that really brought us together as an ensemble was having 2 rehearsals in the space as the whole collective.
Which I wish we had
more. To get it sorted. Yeah. Well, part of me is like, I mean, it worked. Did it?
That's true.
It did
work.
The 2 sessions worked.
That's
and
true.
It came together, and that was it. And we had no choice but to trust in each other's work, to pick it up, learn it, and do it.
That's true.
And make it work for
And
us.
if it went wrong in the moment, and some people did, it went wrong.
Yeah.
But we had that language to be like, I've got you.
Yeah.
I'm going to move you. Or we're going to wait on
Especially when delivering that text in our little 6.
Yeah.
There was a whole bond with the group, and then there was your little 6 as well within that group, and that your group very much had you the whole way through. I especially felt in our group.
And you can feel when the group was not listening to each other in rehearsal process or in performance. It's obvious. And it's not a nice feeling to feel like you're not being included or to feel like you're not listening to each other. So, yeah.
But I think what we did do well as a whole year, on the whole, was the whole process of, pardon the Greek pun, but killing the baby.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, if it wasn't necessary, if it was expositional, if it was just for flair and just for show.
I had a flip was cut, you had a flip was
My
cut.
flip was cut because it just was too much hassle. It didn't provide any help to the story. And part of me, when Chris was like, we're going to cut that, part of me was like, no! But then when it actually came to doing it in the piece, it was gone out of my mind.
Yes. Less is more.
Yeah,
Less
the more you
really
can take
is more.
creatively, the more you can bring into the room first to see what you need, the better. And I think
It's always better to have more and then get rid of it than come underprepared.
And I always complain. I love to moan. Oh, it's God, I've got to do sequence work again to start it. You know what I mean? Because I prefer to work from text to movement. But actually doing that, we were so compared to when we did it last term. We had it done within like 2 lessons. We tried to go too far.
Yeah, we did.
It's like, right, how do we morph this into the text, what we've got, and then it just,
when we're not given our text bit to,
we had to kill our babies, strip it back, make it simple, but
I think yeah,
I'm all for simplicity.
yeah, I think we were kind of hindered a little bit by time,
yeah.
and process, because just with us being part 6 of 6 meant that we didn't really show ours to the whole group until we got into studios 2 and 3, and then even then a couple hours before we had decided this is how our little bit's going to look, and that was really stressful. Not going in with a plan, because I'm very much like this is the plan.
But we put the working outside of lessons, and we had something ready.
Back. Technical difficulties. We're back though.
Storage.
These videos are very hard.
But you said a good point straight after.
I did.
It's gone.
It's about what was it? This is the nature of the ensemble. Just going into it. Maybe it'll come back to me. Something to do with that ensemble.
Well, I'm gonna say something that I struggle with, and I brought up with Chris in our tutorials.
Yeah.
And it's something I've struggled with in pretty much every singing lesson, and it is keeping to certain beats.
Yeah.
And something I've got better at slightly. But I think something that Chris gave me a bit of advice on getting it in the body, and then something I found with when we did on the towel when I was bouncing on the string to keep in time.
Yeah.
And I transferred that across into this, and it was the only way I could really get the whole.
Oh yeah. Do that.
You know,
And keep it going.
yeah, it's the only way, just by and that's why I was doing so much during the semicircle to keep it in time, because it's the only way I can do it.
Yeah, but I think doing that much as well, your performance was just miles, would have been miles better than just, if you, just because you can already do it and just do it.
Half-heartedly.
Yeah, it's less about being in time, more about being
Kind of
in the
singing.
moment.
Exactly.
Just doing it like this. Rather than, yes, I am keeping to the same beat, but it's not telling the story.
No.
It's not adding anything to it. If you really are able to go building your whole body towards the same beat. And then, guess what that has an impact on Tahani?
Breath.
Yeah, it does.
It does.
I think it might be slightly asthmatic as well.
Physically so into it and really going for it. It was tiring, and Greek was really tiring. And I didn't think it would be so tiring. Because when we were doing our little bits and putting it together,
Yeah,
it was good. Well, that's fine. But then doing the whole piece,
twice.
Everyone else's routine.
I was knackered.
Yeah.
I was at it.
Was a
wiped
workout.
me.
People do it
out.
7 days a week.
2
shows in a day.
Big lesson on stamina and fitness, which for me has majorly increased.
Yeah.
Stamina and just general fitness.
Yeah.
But it was intense.
It was.
Really intense.
But it was a good stretch and learning muscle. For me, what I struggled with is, which is also something that I've taken on board from practically everything I've done this term, is when things don't go your way in performance. Because I'm one where not every rehearsal may be great, but the performance, the actual time, like show time, is good. At least, even if it's not great, it must be good. But this term, I experienced the first run of Greek, me blanking out and me forgetting my line, and me being worried that, oh my gosh, I blanked out. Like, was it obvious? How could my cohort have held me in that moment? But learning how to override the obstacles and just push through, regardless of whether or not you remembered the line, is the most important thing. And I'm glad that I did in that first run.
And that was another big thing that we kind of looked at with Harriet, and being an ensemble with the text and doing it together.
Yeah.
We were really able to do that because one person drops. I think in a rehearsal that we did in the room, dropped my line, and I was there like looking around. Chris noted on that, and he was like, in that moment,
Yeah.
you were all so connected because you were all looking at each other,
Like,
waiting,
ready for it.
ready, and I mean, we were.
Yeah.
We just,
And someone would have picked, you know what I mean? Someone would have picked it up.
and it was picked up, and we did eventually just carry on
with it, yeah.
So I think that was a big thing that I didn't really understand, but at first, but then got there eventually with. Do you want to see my handstand on the wall?
Yes, show that actually. Period.
So, never would have been able to do this before. And I remember being in the gym and doing it for the first time. And I was like, wow, that's scary. And then just doing the little leg cross. And I could just sit here and chat. But doing that now is really fun because there's the whole fear that comes with it. And like, oh, I'm going to fall and hurt myself and all that. But now, knowing that I can physically just do that, and now I just want to know how to do an actual handstand.
I still have the fear of going upside down. I haven't
It's
conquered that.
terrifying.
That's something I will conquer by the end of content.
I will. Same. I'm with Frankie on that. Like, I'm not scared of going upside down. I'm just scared of maybe falling.
Yeah.
But I just need to do it.
It's when you like hear the injuries, like Kate. You know what I mean? Like, it's just one injury and that's you done.
Some people run and pull ligament.
Which is
and
why
that's
you've got
it.
to
So
treat your body as this kind of temple sometimes.
Yeah.
But
all the time.
seeing some other people in the year pick up things a lot quicker at first can be really frustrating. And you're like,
I hear you.
and a lot of the time you're like, why if they can do it, why can't I do it? And then it comes back to taking it back to the thing that you get told at the very, very start. You're all at different levels, you're all here for different reasons, you've been put together because this is the group that we want to build.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like I'm on X Factor,
And it's not everything. It's not everything you're gonna know, but the most important thing is the desire to learn. So that's why asking and trying, when you get a space, trying it out. You know, a headstand or a cartwheel, and just making sure that someone's there to support you and to teach you and take you step by step is what's important. That's how you move forward in life. It's not about knowing it all. But one thing I do want to share is, I'm proud of myself and how seamless I was able to go over Ben's back, like during the process of sleep.
It's such a long flip for it not to be caught.
Yeah. So I'm gonna.
I feel like we're all professionals.
Yeah. So he wants to be the base. He wants to be the base. So hopefully. That was not a good example, so we're gonna go again.
You do it again.
That's so funny.
On his head. You're too far up, so why don't you do it again? And this time take as long as a second to line yourself up.
Okay.
And really, really engage in your core. Yeah, so you can slow it down. That's it. Keep going. There we go.
I did it much better.
But it's not about
It's more the fact we haven't got the amount of people to support.
Support, yeah.
And it's not really about how it looks right this very second, but it's that process of sitting down and thinking about it. You know? Thinking about where do I need to be, what do I need to do? Because even as being the base there, thinking about where do I need to move to help as much as possible. It's not about one person being able to do one thing. It's about doing it as that pair, or as a three, or if you've got 4 or 5 people. It doesn't matter. Because I think a lot of the time we think, oh, I want to be able to do it without support, or I don't need support. That's not the point of support.
No, it's not.
It's not
about being safe.
Yeah. It's about what happens when you do this as a 6? What happens when you do it as a 6?
Yes.
And the story.
What happens when you do it as a 2? Exactly. So,
And that's what made it easy for me when doing it in the group performance. I felt safe.
yeah.
I felt like at any given point, if anything happens, I would have people to support me. So,
He thinks he can't see it, but I don't. Anyway, carry on.
so that was really helpful. Trust, building trust is what also helps to build connectivity between your peers, between your.
Something we're all going to look for in like every show I watch now as well. It's like, oh, where are they hitting the support? Because it's there.
Oh, it's always there. It's always there.
It's straight through.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's all we've got time for.
Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you. What should we call ourselves?
You can't spring something now.
Yeah, that's too.
Oh, that's so boring.
No, go on.
Mermaids.
I can't remember.
The movers and shakers.
Movers and shakers.
The movers and shakers. That's what we got to see. But yeah, it's been a small time.
Bye.
Movement. Bye.